Chai with Manjula presents NRI, A Closer Look, a special series that focuses on some of the key issues that affect Indo-Americans and NRIs and takes a close look at solutions and prevention as well. Welcome to Chai with Manjula. My guests are back for part 2 of our discussion about domestic violence and abuse. Dr. Mukta Sharangpani is former president and current board member of Maitri. Vandana Kumar is president of Narika and publisher of India Currents. Mukta and Vandana, welcome back. Thank you. Both the organizations, Maitri and Narika, have been helping women in abusive situations for more than 20 years now. So over this period of 20 years, what have you seen change in the situations of domestic violence and abuse? What is different now compared to 20 years ago?
I think there's both great news and not so great news, right? I think that 20 years ago, women that would call us often had only heard about us in the final stages of things going wrong. So, a lot of times people think that like their home countries, if they are served divorce papers, they can just put aside their divorce papers, and if they don't look at it, if they don't process it, then it'll somehow miraculously go away, right? And so when people were told in the courts that no, they need to address it, that they would call us up, and it was by the time too late, and people had sort of given up custody, lost out on community property, a bunch of things that couldn't necessarily be reversed at the time. That has changed. Okay. I think a lot of people, a lot of awareness, the courts know to give out our number, the police system knows to give out our number, the local vendors, grocery stores, people on the street know of us. So when they hear that someone is in trouble, or someone might need assistance comes sooner. Okay. Rather than later. Okay. Then it is up to the person whether they want to contact us or not, or they want to just sort of mull things over before they do. So in that sense, we can help them sooner and much more efficiently.
Catch it much earlier.
Yeah. Governments are becoming aware. The Indian government, for example, has a fabulous cell that works constantly with us. The consulate has become, very much a partner in helping support any of these situations. The host country, the United States, is becoming more and more aware of the cultural sensitivity and the nuances of South Asian domestic violence and how immigrant laws can actually help change in order to support clients. So for example, people who would come on dependent H4 visas can now file for U visas if they show that there is a situation that requires or they qualify. Do you want to talk about the bad news, and then we can talk about the good news again?
The good news is that there's much more awareness and people are turning to you for help much sooner.
Much sooner, I think, and that's probably uniform across a lot of agencies. So we've done some good work. I think one very good thing that has happened is the fact that our community actually acknowledges that DV exists. Right. Now, 21 years ago when we started, that was a challenge.
They were in denial.
And it was like, this is private stuff, this happens within families, this is nothing, let people figure it out. And for us, I think there was a critical moment in when we got a grant from the Livermore Temple. This was the first time that it wasn't just individuals that was giving a grant or donation, but an organization that was largely comprised of men that they said, we want to support the work that you're doing. Okay. And I think in terms of acknowledgement, it was huge for our agency. Part of it was also a deliverable was we had to go and give a talk, which was largely attended by men at the temple to talk about DV and what are the resources.
Because men need education also.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And men have to, both the agencies and people serving as well as the community needs to recognize that, this doesn't mean all men are bad. Nobody is in the business of bashing men, right? So how can men be allies? How can men be partners and recognize that this is not a reflection of their sex or their gender, but rather a few people that actually behave in this manner that should be instantly reprimanded. And I think that kind of public shaming, while it has happened, has not happened to the extent that we would like it to. Okay. And I think that I would say is still a negative, that while people acknowledge it, there's still a feeling that yeah, it's there, yeah, you can access these resources, but we'll still stay in touch with this batterer, or, we'll still invite this person to our parties, even though we know the crap that goes on in your house. So I think that level where everybody in the community says we have zero tolerance for violence, and we certainly don't have tolerance for anybody that abuses their power within the family structure. I think that needs to still change, and we have a long way to go before we get there.
But I think, Manjula, thanks to a show like yours that's focusing on this issue, reaching so many people. Last year Amir Khan in his series of Satyameva Jayate also addressed the same issue.
Right. It is
and so there is recognition, there is awareness, and hopefully this means that women that need these resources actually do reach out.
Yeah, and as I mentioned last time, the numbers are so high in our community. I read somewhere that 41% of South Asian women live in abusive situations. What is the reason behind it? Why in our community? Can you shed some light on that?
I think, we come from a primarily patriarchal community.
Absolutely.
Into a host country which has a patriarchal immigration system. And so it's a really unfortunate confluence of events that causes violence, to exacerbate within the NRI community here. In the home country, family sometimes might be abusive, but the family is also there as an infrastructure, as a support structure. So that, when someone wants to take a break, go away to the mother's house for a few days, mull it over, talk it through, talk to friends. There's a home, there's a place to escape.
And they support you also.
And they support you. They support you. The older people in the family will come and say, look here, don't you do this, right? And we don't have that here. So the agencies and the community then become what one would hope is a good support structure. I think that we still come from a community where girls are valued less than boys. You cannot look at domestic violence without looking at the rape case in Delhi. You cannot look at domestic violence without looking at female infanticide. You cannot look at domestic violence without looking at the number of Hindi and Bollywood and Bhojpuri films that show women as objects of the men's desire and lust and control.
All those what are they called? Item numbers. Yeah, very degrading to women.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think there's definitely that. And then, when you come into a, it's scary for me when I hear young teenage girls like my niece, that age, saying they don't need to have a primary career because eventually they're going to get married and, they'll have to do something that works. So, you sort of see that flow into the next generation, and it frightens you.
Right. So we have to give, decision-making power and confidence and all those things we should inculcate in our empowerment, basically, in our girls right from the beginning, and treat them equally.
Absolutely. It's scary, when your friends, when you see among your friends and your kin, when you see them treating their son differently. Their 7-year-old son and their 7-year-old daughter or whatever, same age daughter will be in the room, and they'll tell the daughter, go make a sandwich for bhaiya.
Right.
He's come home from
and
school,
he's given a professional education, she's not.
And so there are small ways
or
in which
rules, that when you get to high school, different rules for a male child versus
all along,
a female
right from birth.
child. So that's cultural.
So cultural factor plays a big role here.
It plays a big role, and I think so critical it is that women need to tell their daughters that they're valued, but equally mothers need to tell their sons how to be caring, compassionate people that believe in the dignity of everybody else.
Right, absolutely.
And the other thing, when for women that come here, they're completely dependent, oftentimes when they come through arranged marriage, completely dependent on one individual that they don't even really know. They're completely isolated, and they have no support structure.
Right.
One of our clients recently, she contacted us because she says, I live with my in-laws and they don't like me, and they're trying to send me back. They're being very abusive, and they're trying to force me to go back to India. And she says, I fear that when I go to India with them, I'll be left behind. what do I do?
Right.
Before I'd make any decision, I need to know.
Okay.
So look at this case. She reached out to get some information, which was probably going to be life-changing for her. And we told her, do not go. You know, if you have this fear, you don't have your green card, you don't have legal status here as yet. So she told her husband, once she had this information, she went back, and I have to give kudos to the woman who said that when he told her we are going to India and we are all going, and she said, I'm not going. And he got really angry. He beat her while her mother-in-law is watching. So it was completely done with their implicit agreement.
So terrible.
And then she contacted us again, and we told her, you need to walk to a police station and report.
Okay.
And she was like, no, I cannot do this. Well, this happened 2-3 times. And then she actually finally did that. She actually walked to a police station and reported.
Yeah.
And then we helped her get a restraining order. They locked her out of the house, actually.
Okay.
That was the final step.
It's time for a short break. We'll continue our discussion when we come back. NRI, A Closer Look, presented by Chai with Manjula and sponsored by the Tech Museum of Innovation, San Jose, California. A unique hands-on technology and science museum for people of all ages and backgrounds, which inspires innovations for the benefit of humanity. And Development Alternatives Group, a non-profit organization in India that brings together traditional knowledge and modern science for sustainable development at the community, national, and global level. Welcome back. My guests are Mukta and Vandana, and the subject is domestic violence and abuse within the South Asian community. So dependence is one thing which plays a major role here, and then I think it's also acceptance.
That's the
that we are taught as little girls, you know, to accept our circumstances, to adjust.
Yeah.
And parents try to look away from a situation like this, thinking that it might fuel the fire there, or it might end up in divorce, and
that's a cultural stigma,
yeah,
right?
so
where people often don't take that step because they're worried what their community is going to think, what their society around them is going to say, what their families are going to think of them. Like, I failed.
Yeah.
Or it becomes somehow the woman's problem, not...
Right. And to that effect, I would like to show that video clip that you have on Narika's website. I think it speaks volumes about our culture of accepting and parents ignoring. So let's take a look at it.
I've told you 100 times, I am the bloody shirts at night. You do nothing all day, nothing. Let him hear. He should know what a useless mother he is. How dare you? You stupid idiot! See what you made me do.
Daddy, I think Mama's in the bathroom.
What?
I think Mama's crying in the bathroom.
Oh, beta. Don't worry. Papa's home. He'll take care of it. Shh!
That video definitely conveys a very powerful message here. And when we look at solutions, it looks like they are embedded in the reasons itself. Solutions lie in empowering our daughters. So how do we do that?
I think as far as empowerment is concerned, we have our SEED program that I think can be intensely helpful to women. This is the prevention component of our work. You know, you talked about, how can we prevent it? When women know what their rights are, they know that they can stand on their own feet, there's less chance of them putting up with violence. Oftentimes, it's because they are unable to assert themselves or have that knowledge that they have to put up. Secondly, I think it's important for us as a community to continue to have this conversation. This is not an issue that can be swept under the rug and let's not talk about it. It's our dirty secret. We have to talk about it. And I'm happy to say that we are. That's why organizations like Maitri and Narika are reaching so many, are able to reach out and help so many women that ordinarily would not. We are also having conversations and research on DV, and we are able to affect change in policy. DV agencies in general are helping law enforcement become more aware of our cultural sensitivities.
I think it's interesting to sort of categorize solutions in a three-pronged kind of way, right? The individual, the immediate community, and the larger community within which this individual resides, right? So at an individual level, absolutely empower your girl child, you know, make her feel valued, make her feel like her life is as meaningful as if she were a boy, right? That there is really no difference in the fact that there is, in the fact that there is equally value, right? It is in empowering your boy child so that the boy child doesn't feel that his machismo and his maleness resides in hurting and controlling somebody else. So that's the individual level. At a community and immediate family level, it is about parents supporting their children when they hear that abuse happens. At Maitri, we have found, and I'm sure that Narika has found the same thing, is that sometimes you'll find families from villages that will say, you know, koi nahi, we'll look after you, come back. The girl doesn't speak English, she doesn't, you know, she can't manage in this country, but it's the spark of dignity that they want to retain, and it's okay, you come back, it didn't work, he's not worth your time.
Show your support.
Sure to support. And you will find women that work in high-tech companies whose parents are saying, don't leave, don't become American on us, you know, don't go getting stigma. Western, social stigma. So I think natal family support is huge for people to make changes. And then the third is the larger community, you know, the homelands, the host lands, the governments, the people making policy, the people deciding how individuals have a right to live in peace and non-violence across borders, right? So I just want to say that we need to recognize as a community and as individuals the difference between somebody who's battering, right, and the difference between somebody who's just mentally sick, right? We need to recognize that violence is not about necessarily only about substance abuse or mental health issues. It is not about stress at work. It is not about two people that are trying to find place for themselves in the family, you know, family conflict of that side. It is not necessarily about learned helplessness. It is about very clearly power and control, right? So it is about recognizing for yourself, you know, the women that are seeing this, the people that are seeing this show, it is for recognizing for yourself whether these patterns and this chronicness exists in their lives or not. Right? For somebody to look at you and say, I don't like this dress on you, maybe it doesn't look so good, is probably not abusive. But a repeated pattern, time and again, to say, you look ugly in this, you look terrible, I can't take you out anywhere, those are the patterns that we need to recognize.
You're shattering somebody's confidence and self-esteem.
You're chipping away, you know.
And it's a very systematic chipping away, you know, so that that person is left with very little to sort of say, I can do it.
Well, Mukta and Vandana, thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure. Thank you for having us.
I appreciate it very much. Well, Mukta and Vandana gave us some insightful information about domestic violence and abuse in the South Asian community. While we create a support system for the victims to address the problem, we also need to look at prevention. We need to tackle the problem at its roots, and that includes raising empowered daughters and sons who respect women as equals. Discussing domestic violence and abuse with our daughters and sons so that both understand what kind of behavior is not acceptable. Giving the same kind of attention, respect, and rights to our daughters, including the right to inheritance, the right to property, as we give to our sons. And moreover, letting our daughters and sisters know that they have our full support in this fight. Welcome back. This is our special segment, Technology for Social Good. And my guest is Dick King from the Tech Museum of Innovation in San Jose, California. Dick is a co-founder of the Tech Awards and director of sponsorships at the Tech. Dick, welcome to Chai with Manjula.
Thank you.
The Tech Awards are considered the Oscars of Silicon Valley for their prestige and magnificence. So tell us what makes them so important and how can people apply for the awards?
Well, thanks for the opportunity to do that. Yes, the Tech Awards has become sort of the technology program in Silicon Valley. We put on a major gala every year where 1,400 prominent Silicon Valley luminaries come to the event. And I think they all come because the basic message, in fact, the tagline for the Tech Awards is technology benefiting humanity.
Right.
And where else in the world but Silicon Valley should we be talking about that? I mean, technology in and of itself is fascinating and interesting, and there are certainly many people in Silicon Valley that are very committed and interested in the pure technology. But most people really are more interested in what does the technology make possible. So the Tech Awards focuses on that sort of so what of technology. And who cares about technology? Who cares is because, and why do we care, is because it can make lives better. Technology can make people's lives better. And so the Tech Awards recognizes and honors individuals, organizations, nonprofits, corporations, any project around the world that's applying technology in a unique way to help solve some of the most pressing global problems.
Right, right. And when is the event this year, and how can people apply?
So the event will be on November 13th at the San Jose Convention Center. Applications are now open, and they'll be open until the early May. And people can apply by going to our website, thetechAwards.thetech.org. And there's a link to the application page where people can apply. So if your guests, your viewers, your viewers are interested in applying or know people that would qualify as a Tech Awards laureate, then they should just go to that website and apply. All the criteria are there about what you have to do to be able to apply, and we're looking for applicants right now.
And it can be individuals or companies who
That's
can
correct.
apply?
Yes, individuals, companies, nonprofits, organizations, governmental agencies, anybody that's using technology. It has to be a technology that's in use. In other words, it's more than just a good idea. It has to be something on the ground that it is actually having an impact. So all of our laureates, a big part of what they do is the impact that they're having on the communities where they operate.
Okay, and what kind of support do you need? How can people get involved?
Well, certainly we hope people would want to come and see the Tech Awards. So people can purchase tickets and buy tables and so on and so forth, because the Tech Awards, in addition to honoring technology benefiting humanity, is also unabashedly a fundraiser for the Tech Museum in San Jose. So that we generate income from the event that benefits the education programs of the Tech Museum. And we get much support from our major sponsors. I mean, Applied Materials, Intel, Microsoft, Nokia, Flextronics, and so on down the line. They all contribute largely to the financial success of the event, which then in turn benefits not only the laureates, and we hand out $500,000 the night of the gala to the 10 laureates, but also then benefits the museum.
Okay, sounds wonderful, Dick. Thank you very much for coming, and all the best with this year's event.
Thank you very much.
Once again, the applications for the Tech Awards are open until May 6, 2014, and they are open to individuals as well as organizations or companies. Once again, we end our show with a message from Jessie. She is an author of children's books and also a spiritual speaker.
Welcome to Reflections with Jessie. Today we're going to talk about the power of words. Words are amazing. They have the power to build, demolish, persuade, control, make or destroy the destinies of individuals, communities, and nations. Whether you are the president of a country, a high-profile executive, a struggling hopeful in a diminished job market, a student, a teacher, a cop, a lawyer, a journalist, or a mother, never underestimate the power of the spoken word. All spiritual traditions recognize the power of speech. Spoken words are a form of action. The Bible says, "The stroke of the whip maketh marks in the flesh, but the stroke of the tongue breaketh the bones." We're seeing today the harsh strokes of the tongue that break hearts and destroy lives. Nowhere is the negative impact of words bandied around irresponsibly more visible than in social media. Cyberbullying has become a serious problem. Slandering, teasing, texting, or tweeting hurtful messages has caused irreparable damage to many. Lack of civility in politics, schools, workforce, in our own homes has never been more rampant. If we want to build loving, fulfilling relationships instead of living in strife and animosity, we must choose our words carefully. Here are a few pointers to impeccable speech. Reflect before saying anything. Words are like arrows. Once they are released, there is no return. Don't gossip. Even when you think it is true, don't pass negative information about people. Bertrand Russell, the 20th century philosopher, said, "Nobody ever gossips about other people's secret virtues." Be a bridge, not a rat. Convey something positive to mend broken relationships. Don't be a rat. Rats nibble at things and destroy them. Don't talk too much. Listen more. Don't get into useless arguments. It is a waste of energy. People will cling to their viewpoint, no matter how hard you want to convince them. Refrain from speaking when you are angry. Let the emotions settle down and then address matters. Angry words are toxic for the one who utters and the one who hears them. Be kind and truthful, but always know that your truth is merely your perspective. Be sincere and generous in your praise. By the same token, nothing is more tiresome than insincere flattery. Don't be a self-promoter. Let your actions speak. Let others praise you. Let your words count. Kind words have to be backed by kind actions. Otherwise, they are hollow. Be a person of your word. If you say something, mean it. Otherwise, you will be just an empty vessel that makes a lot of noise. That's it for now. Until next time, be in Chartikala, high spirits.
That's all we have for you today. I look forward to seeing you again after 2 weeks. Thank you.